Free speech. What does it mean and how does it work? Today we're going to talk about 5 principles of free speech under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Principle number 1. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution restricts the government. It does not restrict the actions of private individuals. Principle number 2. Under the First Amendment, there are no false ideas. In other words, if you want to advocate that the earth is flat, you are free to do so. Here's what the Supreme Court said. Under the First Amendment, there is no such thing as a false idea. However pernicious an opinion may seem, we depend for its correction not on the conscience of judges and juries, but on the competition of other ideas. Principle number 3. Most political and controversial speech is protected. In fact, the main purpose of the First Amendment is to advance political discourse. Again, here's the Supreme Court. Whatever differences may exist about interpretations of the First Amendment, there is practically universal agreement that a major purpose of that amendment was to protect the free discussion of governmental affairs. Principle number 4. Vulgar speech is generally protected. So if you want to wear a sweatshirt that says, F the draft, you generally can. Here is what the Supreme Court said. While the particular 4-letter word being litigated is perhaps more distasteful than most others of its genre, it is nevertheless often true that one man's vulgarity is another's lyric. Principle number 5. Offensive speech is generally protected. An Asian rock band wanted to name itself The Slants and register a trademark, but they were not allowed because there was a rule that no trademark could disparage any persons living or dead. The band challenged this rule and took their case to the Supreme Court. And here's what the Supreme Court said. Speech that demeans on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, or any other similar ground is hateful. But the proudest boast of our free speech jurisprudence is that we protect the freedom to express the thought that we hate. In another case, Snyder v. Phelps, a religious group was protesting the funerals of soldiers who had died in the Iraq War. This distasteful speech was also held to be protected. And here is how the Supreme Court put it. Speech cannot be restricted simply because it is upsetting or arouses contempt. If there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment, it is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea itself offensive or disagreeable. Indeed, the point of all speech protection is to shield just those choices of content that in someone's eyes are misguided or even hurtful. So, in summary, the First Amendment restricts the government. There are no false ideas. Most political and controversial speech is protected. Most vulgar speech is protected. Most offensive speech is protected. And that are 5 principles of free speech under the First Amendment. And this has been another episode of The Legal Mind, How the Law Thinks. If you like this topic and contents like it, you might want to check out my books, The Legal Mind and How Would You Rule? And please bear in mind, this isn't legal advice. If you need legal advice, consult a lawyer. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.